Let's speak a bit about trade in the modern world, people. Allah, Allah, Allah. Look at that, people. Look at that. Wall Street versus GameStop. What did you guys catch the drama? It's been crazy. Wow. Let me give you a quick summary. So what's been going on is basically you have these high-end Wall Street guys who have their tactics, in the way they trade. And they quite there's a lot of kind of snobbery about them. And and they have, of rightfully so, I think, a terrible reputation. They were challenged recently by this, what you have, Wall Street betting on Reddit. Now, this was basically a bunch of people. It's a Reddit thing that they've got, with, I think, they had over 1 million subscribers, who don't like the way the Wall Street kind of hedge fund people are operating. So they decided to do something about it, and it was crazy. So to understand what this is about, you have to have a bit of a tiny amount of kind of knowledge of how trading, whether it's with stocks and shares or in the crypto world, how these things work with margin trade. So margin trade is to where you put down a certain amount, and the broker will leverage it and meet it with whatever you put down times whatever. So let's say you can do this in cryptocurrency as well. If I put down, I don't know, £1,000, I can only buy with £1,000 worth. So the profit I make is only from £1,000. But if I trade by margin, what that is I put down £1,000. Now let's say the leverage is times three in, common in, let's say, Binance or cryptocurrency. Then I would have £3,000 worth of buying power. So let's say I paid, if in the normal sale I pay £1,000, I've got, let's say I made £100 profit. Yeah, or let's say overnight or in 2 nights I made £100. But if I had bought with £3,000, it would have been exactly 3 times the amount. So what you do is you leverage it, you have greater profit, and then you repay the leverage. Now, obviously, with this as well, the risk of the jump of for losses is equally great. So, but you don't actually end up owing the debt, because what happens is, as your margin amount that you put down starts to get eaten into due to the losses, the broker will just liquidate whatever you've put there, and because they won't want to lose their amount. So you don't actually lose more than what you put down, and you can put stop losses and things like that into place. But anyway, that's important to understand for what actually happened, because then you have this ability on margin trade to sell short. Now, what does that mean? So what that means is, you see, in normal trade, you sell. I mean, it's for long trade, as in you're buying. Yeah, I mean, you can sell something you have, but you can't sell something you don't have in normal trade. But in margin trade and in these kind of hedge fund kind of tactics, you can. So you sell short. So what you do is, normal buying is that I'm buying these shares of this company because it's going to profit. It's going to go up, and my shares will go up, and then I can sell it. But what you can also do with this kind of leveraging is you can sell short. You can say, I'm buying this with the hope that this is going to drop in price. It's going to plummet. So what you do is you borrow the asset. So, you're borrowing, let's say, obviously these are shares and, abstract entities, but let's just say it was a phone. So you don't need the phone to sell it. I think this phone is gonna lose profit. So this company is gonna lose profit. So what I do is I say, well, okay, I would like to sell 100 of these phones right now. So I want to loan 100 phones. You get it? Like, let's say I want to loan these shares, particular ones, not the money, but these shares. Once I get these, let's say this phone is now £100 and I've got 100, I'm going to sell them. So I've loaned them and I'm going to sell them, but with the hope that this company is going to sink. So I sell them 100 for 100. I've got that. This company sinks to, let's say, by 50%. Now I buy back 100 and repay the loan to you, and I have 50% profit. So this is called selling short. Now, the problem with this is you can actually cause companies to plummet, because when these huge bankers and these Wall Street guys get behind this, and they see, because it's not just one person, these people are like an alliance, and they kind of, wield a lot of power, because they will say things like, okay, we're going to we're going to sell short on this company. Like Tesla, they tried to, short Tesla. They said, right, and they announce it. So people who have shares get worried and start to sell. So it fulfills their prophecy. And that company loses radical shares and money. And they tried it. This is why Elon Musk obviously hates these people who short trade, and he because they tried it on him, and this is why he's part of the saying that this is a crime, except it's ridiculous that this is even possible. So what now? Okay, you understand that. Now fast forward. So what it is, some of these Wall Street guys, they said that they we're going to short sell GameStop. And this is like a bullying tactic, because what happens is you could cause the company to almost crash. So, and yes, you may make money in the process, but the company goes, you know, can go bust. So, this is what they said. Now, some of these guys on Reddit, this WBS, this kind of forum, this group that they've got, and they've got a reasonable following as well of over 1 million people. They said, you know what, a big fu to these Wall Street bunch of stuck up whatever they are. Let's start buying shares in GameStop. Everybody buys shares in GameStop so we can inflate the value. Because you see, what's interesting, pause this for a moment, go back to what I was telling you about short selling. You see, when you buy long, like normal trade, you see, I put down £1,000 and buy some shares in Tesla, let's say. Now I'm hoping this is going to go up, and my profit is unlimited. As long as it can go up, I keep profiting. If it goes down, the maximum I can lose, let's say worst case, the whole company collapses, never happens, but let's say can happen in some cases, I will lose my £1,000. So my loss still is finite, but my profit is potentially undetermined. Selling short has the opposite. You see, your profit is limited, like as in it's sure it's good, but there's a number. But if that company starts making profit, you will start becoming in debt, like without a limit. So now you come back to this thing. So these guys said, look, let's start buying shares. Buy shares, everyone, because what's going to happen is the price gets inflated, and these guys, all these kind of Wall Street guys that, I've got the head up the royal end, they will fall into loss, and because they're going to get indebted, they have to buy back the shares, because you remember I've loaned 100 of these and sold them already, so I need to buy back 100 to sell them back, but now the price has gone much more before what I bought it. So this is what started, and then you get, obviously, so many people just jumped on it, so the price of GameStop just rocketed taking it into the top 500 companies of the world. It became, like it became a unicorn company. So you've got, and these people, these bullies, they obviously in turn got bullied. The whole thing got collapsed because they lost millions and millions, and it really backfired. And on the back of that as well, you've got Dogecoin overnight just rocketed because they said all of a sudden, because there was this spur, people said, let's buy Dogecoin. And Dogecoin was originally a crypto coin that was made as a joke. It didn't represent anything. It was a meme. And overnight, it just rocketed. And Elon Musk, it's amazing. He made one tweet. He just said 2 words, buy Dodge. And wow, the power. Everybody, that night was a roller coaster. I'm telling you, those of you that were awake that night on crypto, it was just wow. It was so gripping. The whole thing, you could see it was. I mean, the crypto world isn't normally like that, but that's not a normal night on. But it was just going, and whoa, you put money in, put money out. Oh, people made millions. People, I mean, that were made. I'm not saying regular people, but people made loads of money. People made thousands. Regular people made thousands and thousands overnight, but certain people would have made millions and millions. And the interesting thing is, this is all being made on the back of, let's say, Dogecoin, which represents nothing. So for once, like, we are witnessing money being made out of nothing, representing nothing. I mean, it's just wow, but yet it's made so many people much richer than they were before it. And that's just wow. When you think about it, it blows the mind, honestly. It reminds me, I shared this with some people as well. I said it reminds me of the quote from that Netflix documentary on India's billionaire bad boys, where one of the guys who trades in diamonds, and he says, he asks the question, he says, what's the price? He says, what's the value of a diamond? What value would you give? What is the value of a diamond? And he gives the answer. He says, it's the price the last person who bought it was prepared to pay. And that's in essence how value is created. Now, I say this because the Shara'i fiqh, the fiqh, the fatawa of ulama is so out of sync with this world. They have not caught up. It's they've not even caught up with, this is money 4.0 we're almost at, this kind of cyber money. They're still talking about bartering. The fiqh books are still talking about bartering. I trade this sack of corn for that sack of, they're not even, they haven't even reached up properly to money, let alone digitalization, let alone this crypto phenomenon. They haven't even, this is way beyond. And so people, I suppose our tradition when it comes to transactions needs to be kind of bumped up and updated. But I thought I'd share that. It's incredibly fascinating to show how the concept of money has changed. Because in the Prophet's time, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, money was based on just hard assets. Now, hard assets are incredibly finite, and it's almost like a zero sum game that there's only so much gold in this whole vicinity. Now, unless we raid another area and bring in more gold, this gold is stuck. So it's only gonna rotate amongst certain people. Whereas we are now in an age where money is being made literally out of thin air. You see, the whole narrative has changed. So those rulings can't apply. You see, that was for a time where it was only hard assets that were financial tradables. And that was fiat, or that was equity, or that was Today, it is abstract and it is literally being created in front of us out of meaningless nothing, meaningless abstract concepts like Dogecoin. So, yeah, that's some food for thought. I do believe all of this is permissible. Obviously, there's regulations, but this kind of trading, whether it's CFDs and stocks or shares, or whether it's going to be forex, or whether it's going to be crypto, whether it's going to be margin trade, isolated, cross margin, I believe all of these things are permissible, but obviously one needs to know as well, be sensible and learn and have, you got to have your kind of an assessment of your losses, have stop losses. I mean, there's all these things are in place, they're already there, that you can have a risk management, you can, and a loss, damage control. That, look, I'm prepared to lose. Like in business, you're prepared to lose. People say, oh, it's like a gamble, but yes, but you know risk was not why things were made haram in Islam. You see, very few things were made haram because of risk. That nothing, risk was not the thing. Mukhatara in Arabic was not why gambling was made haram. Gambling was made haram because of the other harms that it was doing socially to people, not because of risk. Just as riba was not haram because of risk, but because of the level of exploitation, unfettered exploitation that was around it. Because otherwise, trade has risk. All these things have risk, right? So it was never, it was in the Sharia, it was ma yufdi ilan niza'. So in the fiqh books, they always say that which leads to um, aggressive disputation, potentially bloodshed, as in fighting, would be made haram. But in a day and age where there's regulations in place and there's rules and and you can do damage control, a person like a shop, you could say, look, I tell you what, I'm going to open this. Worst case, it's not going to work. I need 6 months rent beforehand. You do a risk assessment. You say, yeah, well, you know what? Okay, if I lose it, I lose it. If I don't make anything, I don't make anything. But I'll give it a shot. It's the same thing here. You put down certain things for trade. You take, whether it's margins or whatever, you place, or whether it's regular trade, you place a stop loss. Say, you know what? If it hits this much, I can take that loss. It's okay, but this is, I hope I make this profit. This is what I'll go for, and the rest is, shall I say, luck, right, or whatever is in your nasib. But I hope that makes some sense. Some people had asked me about these topics, but I definitely thought this is very relevant, this whole Robinhood phenomenon, because Robinhood was obviously the platform they were using to do the trades, so which was aligning itself with Wall Street. And then you've got Reddit and this kind of particular subreddit kind of forum or platform where these nerds or whatever, but these young people manage to manage to kind of overturn the plotting and planning of Wall Street, and caused them to suffer in millions, literally millions and millions overnight. That's what they did. Wow. सुबह के तख्त नशीं शाम को मुजरिम ठहरे हमने पल भर में नसीबों को बदलते देखा. Wow, 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 wow. Says that those who at sunrise were, people who sat on thrones, by nightfall became criminals. As in, by sunset, just within the turn of a day. That he says, in moments we've seen people's fortune flip. वाह वाह. सुबह के तख्त नशी शाम को मुजरिम ठहरे हमने पल भर में नसीबों को बदलते देखा. Right, people, let's move on. But there are wars now on currency and trade. I mean, there will always be wars on money, as in people are fighting always for more assets, but people who are trading are not warring with each other. So in the past, if you went to their markets and did something in which could lead to an altercation. This was deemed haram because in the past, the person in the market stall carried a sword and you carried a sword. And when he said, I think, blah, 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 and there is no regulatory board, there's no government, there's no council, there's no laws in place like that. There's tribal kind of loose overarching rules, but that's it. He would just take out his sword and say, well, okay, well, there's one way to determine this. Oh, you thought I was going to pick up the calculator? Nah, nah. The sword. So this kind of stuff doesn't happen. You're trading, you're on your app, you're on your PC, you're trading. Nobody's going to come knock on your door with a sword to kind of kill you because you brought some Bitcoin and it profited. So these kind of things are not haram as far as the world is concerned. Yes, ultimately there will be certain people who are always playing some games and doing things. That's just the way of the world. Right, so let's move on, people. Let's move on. Right, so that's I did want to cover jinn possession, people. Jinn possession. But were there any quick questions to take before I move on to that? Stop banning me and my wife, Kali Auntie, please. Gore Chacha and Kali Auntie. Abe, salo. Right, let me check what the Facebook people are up to. Facebook, mi gente, what are some... Right, so... Yep, supporter replying said it's not because a large number of people are buying the stock, it's that they're buying it and holding it. Yeah, but buying it, obviously, if you buy it and you don't sell it, it is obviously holding. Ah, you're genius. Mange, mange. Wah, 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 Prabhu, Prabhu. The shorters have to buy the shares they shorted back. Obviously, that's what I was giving the example when I was saying, look, if I sell this now, then I have to buy them back. Remember, that's what I was saying. And obviously, if the price is hyperinflated, then I'm at a loss because if I have to buy it back to repay it, and I could lose millions because you don't understand the hedge funds that are involved. I mean, this is they're not trading at a low level. This is